All right, in this video, what I'm going to be doing is just giving a little demo of using variables in Java. Now, there's a lot of different variable types, and in this video, I'm only going to be demonstrating a few of them, some of the more common ones. It's the ones that I typically use in my programs. So just keep that in mind. I mean, this is not every single variable type that's built in, but these are some of the more common ones that I typically use. So let's go with a new project and Java application, and I'm going to call this thing variables example. And the first thing I'm going to do is just clear out some of these default comments, just clean it up a bit, just like that. Okay, now there's basically four main variable types that I typically use in my program. First one is called an int, and this is basically short for integer. Then there's something called a double, and a double is basically any number that includes decimals. Any number that includes decimals. Or if you have like a really massive number, you can use a double as well. In an integer or an int, it actually does have a pretty small size. So if it gets really, really big, it can go out of the bounds of the integer. You can use a double instead. There's another one called float that's very similar to double. You can use that as well. But I tend to use a double all the time instead of a float. A double takes up a little bit more memory. So I mean, it's a little bit inefficient, I guess, but I tend to use doubles more often than not. Okay, the next one that's important is called a string. And a string is basically sort of like a sentence. So it allows numbers, letters, symbols, etc. Okay, and like that would be good for a name or something like that. And the last one is called Boolean. And a Boolean is basically a true or false variable. Now, Boolean is really good if, for example, maybe you're doing like a password checker or something like that, and you want to indicate whether they got it correct or not. You can use a true or false variable to indicate whether it's been logged in successfully or not. Okay, so let's do an example of each of these and show you how they work. So the first one I'll do is it's actually kind of a classic example I've done before, and that's figuring out a dog's age in human years. So the formula for a dog's age in human years is basically age times 7. That's all you're going to do. So if a dog is 2 years old, it's like they're 14. Okay, that's what I want to do here in this program. So let's go ahead and ask the user for the dog's age, and we'll fill it all out. Okay, so first we're going to do is we're going to go int dog age, like that. And then I'm going to use what's called the scanner to actually get that from the keyboard. So to make a scanner object, I type in scanner, and then I'm going to give my scanner a variable name. I'm going to call it input. Input equals new scanner, and in brackets system.in. Now, it goes red here. You have to basically right-click this thing and go to Fix Imports. And then click OK. What it'll do is it's going to add that line right here on line 4. It's going to import a thing called the Java Utility Scanner. And what this does is it basically allows me to type into my output here, and that's how I'm going to get my user input from the keyboard. So let's go ahead and ask for the dog's age. So I'm going to use the system out, and I'm going to use print, not println. Please enter your dog's age, just like that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say dog age equals input dot. Now we take a look here. Okay, we've got a lot of different things. We've got something called next int. So what they'll do is it'll grab the next integer from the keyboard. We can use that right away. Let's try it out. And then just as a test, I'm going to try and print that out. You entered, and I'm going to attach in the dog age variable like that. So I just want to know that the dog age actually contains the variable that I actually typed in. Let's try it out. So it should print out this. Wait for me to type in an age. I type it in, and it's going to display it with this line right here. Okay, type in 7, you entered a 7. Perfect, so it does work exactly the way I want. Now, let's convert that over. So let's make another integer variable, and we're going to call this thing human age. And I'm going to set the human age equal to the dog age times 7. And then I'm going to actually print that out. So I'm actually going to remove that line because that was just a test line. And let's do a system out println. Your dog is, I'm going to attach in human age in human years. So what I did was I'm basically printing out a sentence here, and my sentence is this string right here that says your dog is, then I'm attaching in a variable called human age, and then I'm also attaching this sentence right here. These plus signs, that's what it does, is it attaches these things. So it should sandwich the number in here. So let's try it out and make sure this actually works. Okay, please enter your dog's age. I type in 2, and it says I'm 14 in human years, which is perfect. Good. Now, we can also do things like, if I want to get the dog's weight, for example, maybe that allows for decimals, I can use that as well. So I would use a double for that one. So let's go, I typically add my variables at the top. So I'm going to make a variable called weight here. And now let's ask for the dog's weight. Print, please enter your dog's, weight. And then for weight, I can do this. Weight is going to equal input dot next double. Like that. And then I can do anything I want with that. I can do any kind of math, whatever I want. I'm not going to actually do any math with it right now. I'm just showing you how to actually get it. But I will print it out just to show you that it actually works. Your dog is plus weight. And I'll put LBS for pounds here. Let's see if it works. Okay. Enter the dog's weight. We'll say 50. Your dog is 50 pounds. Perfect. So that's how you would actually do that as far as getting the next double here. Okay. The last one I'm going to show you is the string. I'm not going to worry about Booleans right now. You're going to use those more with if statements and things like that later on. But I'm going to focus on these first three, int, double, and string. So string is going to be for names and stuff. So let's go ahead and ask for the dog's name. And we're going to add that up here. String name. And let's go ahead and print it out, or ask the user to enter the name. System out println or print. Please enter the dog's name. And then we can go name equals input dot next line, like that. Next line actually returns a string. So these ones, next int returns an integer, and that's why I can put it into an integer variable here. Next double returns a double, and that's why I can put it in here. Now name is a string, so the one you want to use is next line. That gives you a string. Now let's go ahead and print it out. Your dog's name is, we'll attach in name. Again, I'm just showing you that this actually works. It's just a very simple example, but I'm showing you how to get your input with the keyboard, and that you can do a little bit of math with it as well. So we'll say our dog is 3 years old this time, so he's 21, 60 pounds. Ooh. Okay, well, I've seen this error before. Okay, so this is something weird that happens sometimes. Now, the problem with it is these methods right here are an issue. Now, it's kind of complicated, and I'm going to show you how to fix this. I actually didn't expect this error to occur on this one, but it actually did. Okay, now to explain what's happening is this. When I use a function or a method like next int or next double, What's actually happening is when I type in 60, I type in 60 and then I hit enter or carriage return. That enter, so technically what's happened is there's 3 characters that have gone into the keyboard buffer. Okay, 60 and enter. What happens with next double is the 60 will actually get consumed. It'll get used up and put into this wait variable. The issue though is that this enter is still sitting here. It's invisible. Okay. Now, if you follow it up with another number question like this, it's not a problem. But if you follow it up with a next line, then what happens is that enter, because it's sitting there, it gets applied right away. So basically, my dog's name ended up becoming this enter, which was the result after that 60. So there's 2 ways we can fix it. First way we can fix it is we can ask for the string first. So I'm going to copy that, put it up here. This is not the way I would fix it, okay, but I'm just showing you that it will work if I do it in this order. Okay, if I do Fido, dog's age is 3, 60 pounds. So it worked fine if I did it this way, right? But as soon as I try using next line after a next int or after a next double, it's going to crash. Or it's not going to crash, it's not going to work, because what's going to happen is this invisible enter symbol that I'm applying is going to get used up on this line, and my dog's name will be basically an enter or /n. Okay, so here's the best way of fixing this. So there's actually a method called integer.parseInt, and what that'll do is convert strings into integers. So integer.parseInt, this will convert strings into integers. And there's also one called double.parseDouble, and that does the same thing. It converts strings into doubles. Now, how am I going to use that in this program instead? What I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to avoid using next int. I'm going to use next line every single time. But I need to actually do something else with it. So I'm going to use next line, because that will always consume my enter symbol. And then right now it doesn't like it because I'm trying to put a string. This gives me a string here. It gives me a sentence. And I'm trying to put it into an int, which is the dog age. That doesn't work. So I have to actually convert it. And so to convert it, what I'm going to do is this. Integer.parseInt of this thing. So whatever's in the brackets, I want you to convert it into an int. That's what's happening right now in this program. So this will give me a string, a sentence from the keyboard, and then I can convert it into an integer and put it into the dog age. I'm going to do the same thing for the double one here. It's probably a good idea to get in the habit of using this, because I have seen this issue come up, and it tends to solve all the problems if you do this. If you always use next line, then it always consumes the enter symbol that you're using, and this will just convert it to a double. So again, what happens in this line now is input.nextLine will get the information from the keyboard, but it'll come in as a string this time, and then this function will actually convert it. Okay, so this is actually a better way of doing it. Let's try and make sure it actually works. Okay, so let's put Fido. Okay, 3 years old. Dog's weight's 40 pounds. So it behaves the exact same way, except this method here, next line, it's not going to cause a problem now when I try and do this later on. So if I copy this and move it, it should still work, even if it's at the bottom now. Four years old, 50 pounds, Fido. There we go. So it's a little more forgiving when you always use next line, and that's probably what I would recommend. But if you do that when you work with numbers, you have to convert them using integer.parseInt, that's for integers, and double.parseDouble, that's for doubles. Remember, int is good for anything with whole numbers, like an age is fine, right? Or if you had like number of students in a class, that would be an int, no problem. Anything with decimals, use doubles, okay? So again, it's just a small little video. I wanted to give you a little demo of using some of the more common types of variables. I'll deal with Booleans another time, but these 3 are really important that you know right now how they work. And these conversion methods here, integer.parseInt and double.parseDouble, You should be aware how they work and how you can use them to improve your programs.